Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. My name is the Fifth Horseman, host of Memepocalypse, your source for contemporary analysis of digital meme culture. Here joining me today is my good friend Danger. Danger, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hi, I'm Danger. I am an amateur meme analyzer.
Yes, and I am a chief amateur meme analyzer. And here we are going to be discussing on our first episode, Kuehls. I'm really excited for this. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, please be aware that this is probably one of the most quintessential episodes for what we talk about. We'll be talking about what Kuehls are in a moment, but they are going to be our unit of measurement for taking a look at memes and analyzing them. And for those of you who are listening purely with audio, we will do our best to describe the memes in front of us, but generally speaking, as long as you understand the idea of a Kuehl, you don't really need to see the meme. Kind of like how there's artistic critiques of music and of art and other formats. It'll just be our common lingo for critiquing. In any case, Danger Man, how was your day?
Pretty good. I mean, it's Halloween, so I ate some candy, and there was a potluck at work, ate some food there. Overall, good Wednesday. Good Wednesday. How was your day?
My day was pretty good. Work's fine. Traffic is traffic.
Traffic is awful.
I wanted to take this episode to talk about memes in general. In a broad sense, a lot of people ask me, hey, can you talk about this particular meme, Doge, Loss, etc. But I wanted to have a background on where memes came from and how Kuehls will play into measuring these. So, do you actually know where the term meme originally came from?
I do. It's a psych term.
Ooh, pop quiz.
It's
Three.
I'm forgetting the actual technical definition.
We have a little cheat sheet here.
Yeah. It's a piece of culture that is evolved and customized per culture. Things like inside jokes. Actually, inside jokes are a great example of memes.
Yeah, inside jokes are a great example of memes. So the formal definition coins from Richard Dawkins, he's still alive, not dead yet, 1976 in his famous work, The Selfish Gene, one of those multi-million publications. It basically talks about how there is a form of genetics, but for culture, and he coins the term as a meme, originally a memetic. Meme meaning some offshoot of culture from the French language. Don't quote me on that.
Because that's why they pronounce it as meme instead of meme, which was one of the first things I learned in that psych class. Was it's not pronounced meme, it's pronounced some other way, but it's definitely not pronounced meme. And now look at where we are.
We're culturally
the name meme itself is a meme because we all just took it and ran with it.
Exactly. Yes. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's originally supposed to be memetics. And he originally actually used it not even for human cultural pieces. Richard Dawkins actually paralleled it to the songs of birds, because different birds and different whales have different callings and pitches for their colonies. And so they're kind of cultural markers that are passed down. The closest parallel is obviously songs, right? Different songs or different languages for human beings.
Genres, maybe.
Yeah. But the meme has evolved nowadays to mean a piece of media that is evolved and customized to our liking, specifically on the digital internet. Which I think is really fascinating because technically everything cultural for human beings, culture itself is a meme. But now, less of a meme and more of an internet meme. So, let's go ahead and talk about how we're going to measure memes, because I'm pretty sure in this day and age, everybody's seen a meme. Everybody's seen a Doge.
You would think so.
Well, for the most part. I think at the very least, people have seen like impact texty type of jokes.
Ooh, yeah, let's take it back to the good old days.
The good old days.
2006,
2008 era.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how are we going to measure memes and how many references there are? Well, first of all, let me break down the purpose of a meme. In general, a meme is widely seen as comedic. You usually send it to your friends to be funny and be like, hey, look at this meme, and they'll respond and be like, that's funny. But let's take a moment to re-examine where humor comes from? Well, Francis Hutchinson, 1725, really old paper. He's a famous philosopher who created one of the bases for humor theory. He says that laughter is a response to the perception of incongruity, and it forms something called incongruous juxtaposition theory, which sounds completely made up, but broken down simply, it just means the idea of taking two unrelated topics and turning it into something linked together. And that difference, that incongruity, creates humor.
Okay.
Which makes sense. And the oldest meme example of that is a dick joke. Yeah, really. I mean,
because you can make anything a dick joke, really.
You can make anything. You draw a dick anywhere. There's recordings of people in Pompeii and in Roman Colosseums just etching them into the side of the walls for no purpose other than that's a penis right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's funny to us because out of context, it is an abstraction, right? It's still loosely related at all times to people because I'm pretty sure every guy has one hanging around, but it's incongruent because people just pose it out of nowhere. It's like someone in public yelling penis, and then you chuckle a little because you're like,
just why are you doing that, man?
Why are you doing that?
That's just not necessary.
Yeah, that should be in your pants. And so, really, the core of the Kuehl measurement is this abstraction away from reality. So, to introduce the original meme for Kuehl theory, it was originally a video by Roy Kelly, February 20th of 2012, and he actually made this video in response to a Reddit thread, which you'll also see in the video. I'll have the link in the description. But let's actually listen to Kuehl theory. Kuehl theory is kind of our unit of measuring the comedic value of a meme, because memes are all centered in comedy, so there's only one kind of abstraction you're looking for, a comedic one. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Kuehl theory.
Let's make the Kuehl a unit of measurement. One Kuehl would be one level of abstraction away from the reality of a situation. For example, you ask me for a hamburger. At 1 Kuehl, if you asked me for a hamburger and I gave you a raccoon. At 2 Kuehls, you asked me for a hamburger, but it turns out I don't really exist.
So before we go on, I wanted to make a quick commentary. So at 1 Kuehl, if you asked me for a hamburger and I gave you a raccoon, and the reason why that's such a brilliant example is because an abstraction has to be related to reality in order to abstract in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Like Salvador Dali and that limping clock. You know, I mean, clocks are rooted in reality, and making it limp isn't too far off of an idea. It's still a clock. So hamburger, meat, raccoon, meat, they have an inherent link, and it's random enough to be funny, but close enough to still be congruent-ish.
It's like, you know, you ask for a hamburger, and I hand you a raccoon, and say, like, make it yourself.
Yeah. And one of... Oh.
Not even what hamburgers are made of.
Nah.
So...
Well, they might be.
Ooh. That's for a later topic.
And one thing I did want to talk about is oftentimes animals are a good abstraction for humor. That's why a lot of old era memes have animals, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Courage Wolf, Awkward Penguin. People like projecting onto animals in general, Egyptian deities, and so I think a lot of 1 Kuehl level references as far as humor goes are a lot of pet-looking type things, because we like to project ourselves onto other animals. It's a nice, comfy abstraction. But anyways, moving on. So that's the first Kuehl. He's talking about the second Kuehl.
Where I was originally standing, a picture of a hamburger rests on the ground. At 3 Kuehls, you awake as a hamburger. You start screaming only to have special sauce fly from your lips. The world is in sepia. At 4 Kuehls, why are we speaking German? A mime cries softly as he cradles a young cow. Your grandfather stares at you as the cow falls apart into patties.
And so, as you can see, the more you abstract something, it's still very loosely related to the original concept. But if I let this go on, it's gonna be a 4-minute video.
Yeah.
And so let's just.
I mean, you know what? 4 is a good place to call it. I think, because all right, I have not seen the video. I don't know how far he goes with it. How many Kuehls are in this video? Do you know?
He has 6.
Oh,
he caps out at 6.
Oh, thank God. Okay, so I have seen shitposts that hit 4 Kuehls.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like the wildest thing ever, because you have to like understand everything that's going into it, and then at the end you're just like, your mind's blown, but it all kind of made sense, but also that's not how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wish I could pull up like a quick example, but like a mime cries softly as he cradles a young cow. Like that's crazy. Why is your grandfather there? The cow just falls apart into patties. Like, what? Yeah. What is this stuff happening?
And I think the real essence of it is, when you examine memes, I believe that the value of them relies on how many references people can catch. Mm-hmm. And the mark of a good meme, just like the mark of a good joke, is if people will understand it from entry level to deepest level. Yeah. Right? And
Oh, I was actually going to say, that idea of memes needing to have like levels of references to it, that itself is a meme, because there's that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia picture where it's the character that is also Dayman. I don't know his name, I don't watch the show, but he's like in front of this crazy board full of like pictures, and there's like all these lines drawn. It's like a conspiracy theorist piecing a bunch of stuff together. Oh, and yeah. It's like when you see a good meme and you laugh at it, and then your normie friend comes along and you gotta explain like 7 years of internet culture before they can actually understand it.
Yeah. And, that actually brings a good question, because I don't think everyone's watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah. And I don't think everyone fully understands what that is. Mm. It's a TV show. But that actually brings me to a really good question. I feel that memes, just like humor, there's always the question of, what do you think resonates with people more? Do you think a strong inside joke filled with bunches of layers where you're like, oh, you won't understand this meme, it's going to take me too long to understand? Or do you think more broad memes, like the Doge meme, or just impact text type of Comic Sans caption memes, which one do you think resonates with a person more?
I think they both have their place. It really depends, because you have you have stuff like SpongeBob memes, where it's like everybody in our age range has seen SpongeBob. Everybody. Like it's not a question. It's not like, hey, have you seen an episode of SpongeBob? You have. But so when you make a meme out of a SpongeBob panel, or screenshot, whatever, that's very broad. Everybody will get it. Maybe not like adult tier adults. Maybe they won't get it because they didn't watch it. But I mean, probably everybody up to like our parents' level will still understand it on some level. Just because they had to watch us watch SpongeBob.
Yeah, and so they'll understand under some reference, like, hey, SpongeBob is the main character's Giddy, and Patrick's the dumb one, and Squidward's me.
Yeah. Really, we're all Squidward now.
Yeah.
So I think broad ones have they have a unifying effect on people, I feel, because everybody can just, laugh at a SpongeBob meme and go on with their day. The really deep referential ones, I think, are more useful for, just like inside jokes, really, it's you have your small clique of people, and, like, you want to deepen your relationship with these people, so you, like, introduce more jokes and more levels into stuff, and if they don't get it, well, then now they have to, like get into this other subgenre of this certain fandom, and then they come back, and then, like, the memes just get spicier and spicier.
Right. Yeah, and that's almost how we as people evolve. It still goes back to that cultural dividing marker, that to be part of the in-group, you have these requirements, and in order to understand our humor, you need to understand what we base it off of. Yeah. Which I think is still really fascinating. More on Kuehls, though, and why they chose Kuehls as a specific unit of measurement. Do you actually know where Kuehls come from?
Historically? No.
Historically.
I'm guessing it's some sort of crazy math or science term.
Ooh, not quite. Though there is now a wiki after the Kuehl theory video.
Of
There is a
course.
wiki, and I'll have the link in the description. There's a wiki devoted to talking about theoretical Kuehl measurements, because now that we have a unit of measurement, what are negative Kuehls? What is subspace Kuehls?
Oh, what?
Yeah, I did a glance over it because it's all, again, this was some dude on Reddit made up Kuehl as a unit of measurement. So take it with a grain of 4chan salt.
Oh,
But
man.
it is...
That's a lot of salt.
Yeah, it is very spicy, and even having a mathematics degree, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes sense in a, like, BS-y kind of like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we had negative Kuehls and subspace Kuehls and decimal Kuehls? And I'm like, you're reading too into it, but I think it's a cool name to use. So, Kuehl, where does it come from? It comes from, originally, 2008. Back when Google was still achieving its status as a huge giant. I mean, everybody was using it as a search engine.
Yeah.
But you remember back in 2006, 2007, there was a push for Bing. And there's also Ask Jeeves and other search engines.
Oh, Ask
Kuehl,
Jeeves.
yeah.
Wow.
Ugh, way old.
Yeah.
Kuehl was a search engine, actually, that was proposed. And it was a particular type of search engine. The idea of it was really fascinating. So, the engine itself was shut down in 2010, but it launched on July 28th of 2008. It was projected ahead of time by Businessweek to be one of the most successful US startups. So it had a very promising feature. So why didn't anyone hear about it, and why did it suck? The problem was the Kuehl engine sucked. It spat gibberish. The CEO quit on the company 1 month later because it was so disastrous. It tried to be a Google killer by doing something that Google essentially couldn't. See, Google indexes your web searches, right?
Yeah.
And it already categorizes which websites it prioritizes. It's a pre-done search, in a manner of speaking. Kuehl wanted to go one step further and say, well, instead of sifting through articles, why don't we generate an article based on the best possible responses and give you our own customized academic article, essentially, right? So what it meant to do was it would duplicate information and combine it into a single document. It was essentially trying to make a mega document. For example, if you searched up pumpkins, it would give you a mega document cataloging the history of pumpkins, pumpkin production, all the aspects of pumpkins.
So like a mega Wikipedia.
Like a mega Wikipedia, customized for your search. So in theory, that would have been great. Because, you know, let's say you just generally... I mean, no,
I mean, theoretically, yeah. But obviously that it can't... It especially can't exist now. There's too much conflicting information everywhere. Like, just... I hate using the term, but there's so much fake news out there.
Absolutely.
You would end up being like, this person was born on this day and then died on this day 3 years earlier. Like, wait, what? Run that back just a little bit.
Yeah, and so what you'd have instead is, using the pumpkin analogy, you would search up something like the history of the pumpkin, but the engine couldn't specify what pumpkin information it was pulling, so you get history of the headless horseman, who happened to use a pumpkin. And then the engine would eventually snowball in a couple paragraphs into buying horse manure in bulk, which is very loosely related to the topic if you abstract it far enough.
Okay, alright.
And so it just couldn't, the engine couldn't get a handle on what it wanted to present to you. It would snowball into other topics way too fast. Which is why the Kuehl, the original Reddit thread, the guy who proposed it, it was brilliant that he used Kuehl as a unit of measurement, because Red Die number 4 recognized that that Reddit thread of the day was talking about the disaster of the Kuehl engine, of its ability to abstract information paragraph by paragraph.
Okay.
Which makes it actually a brilliant usage for our purposes, because memes abstract information the deeper and deeper you want the reference and the joke to go.
Yeah.
One really good example is the lost meme. And, you know, if listeners out here don't know what the lost meme is, we will have an episode completely dedicated to loss coming up in the future.
It is definitely its own monster.
It is definitely its own monster. But it's good, because now we have a solid measurement of critiquing memes and meme culture. So one of the things that I did want to talk about is the difference in different meme movements. And
Okay.
I'm saving this for another episode because we're going to be linking art history movements and other art mediums with meme culture. But generally, broadly speaking, different measurements of cues mean different amounts of details that you have to shove into the image or medium.
Yeah.
So, animal text, caption, that's like one cue, right?
Yeah,
that's
super
not
simple.
Yeah, super simple. The idea is you have a cute animal that represents a person,
Mhm.
and that will represent either something funny or something ironically funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 cues is when you have to start putting in a little more effort, you
Mhm.
know? You have to start being like, this is from a specific show. You know?
Okay. All right. So SpongeBob memes fall into like 2 cues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where you could understand a SpongeBob meme if it's comedic in its own right. Like
Yeah.
SpongeBob walking into a pole or something. You'll find that funny on an objective level,
Mhm.
but if you understand the specific episode and instance it happened,
Yeah.
then you appreciate it more.
And then combine that with like a caption or something. Is that 3 cues then?
No, because I think the caption itself is the punchline.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
along with the abstraction, you have to have the baseline, right? You have to have the base
Mhm.
level, and then you abstract it further. So, generally
Okay.
speaking, I think the punchline is the base level. Like, if you took away the images
got you.
and you just had the punchline, for example, if I went up to you and be like, procrastination, that is, as a punchline, you know, I could give you a look and be like, I procrastinated today,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I could understand that.
Yeah. But then, say for example, you take a SpongeBob image,
Mhm.
and then you take SpongeBob saying procrastination with a little rainbow box, and all of a sudden, you
okay.
have further abstractions that make it a meme.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
And
pulling up that example here.
you actually have the example on deck.
Oh no, I just Google searched it, to be honest.
There
it
you
is.
go, right.
There we go. Right here. So, I'll put this image up on the YouTube version,
Mhm.
but for us viewers and not just listeners. So, here's a great example. If you just straight up went up to someone and be like, you know what's funny? What? Procrastination, right? That's a joke. That's a baseline joke.
Yeah.
Not a very good one, but it's
It's alright.
It's alright.
I mean, depending on the day.
Yeah. When you present it in a meme format, however, you throw in SpongeBob. SpongeBob's face at an objective 1 cue level
Mhm.
is an abstraction of your joke. SpongeBob now represents you.
Yeah.
You're abstracting yourself, projecting it on SpongeBob, and you're being like, isn't that funny? But then if they understood that episode,
Yeah.
and they know where it's from,
Procrastination.
and then all of a sudden it's an inside joke, and
Yeah.
you get a closer bond with your friend.
Okay.
And I think that is the real bread and butter of today. That the danker the meme, dankness being how many cues there are, the harder it is to understand it. But if you understand it, it's like a nod to your friend.
Yeah.
Like, if they laughed and appreciated it, and you both understood that, then you're like, man,
Yeah.
you watch SpongeBob.
Because there is also, sometimes you see a meme and you're just like, alright, I get where the joke's supposed to be, but, like, it's not nearly as funny as you think it is. But that's just because you don't understand, like, the levels of dankness,
Mhm.
that are going into it because you missed a reference along the way or something.
Yeah. And what I like about memes the most is that they are abstractions of generally popular or internet culture. Because the thing is, most cultural memes, like, we'll take music for example.
Okay.
If you don't listen to the same artist, that's like a hard cutoff. They have an entry level. They gotta listen to the
Yeah.
whole album,
Yeah.
and then they can listen to our speech on Kanye West or something.
Kanye's a good example because
Right.
that guy is all over the place.
Or even other music, like classical music. If you're not into classical music,
Oh, man. Yeah.
and you're listening to like an orchestra snob or something,
Mhm.
and they're being like, oh, you haven't even looked through the composer notes yet, right?
Yeah.
That's a high cultural meme bar to pass over. But the beauty of the internet is that it pulls from how can we abstract common knowledge,
Mhm.
is what I usually feel, or common within specific bubbles. So it's already assuming that you're part of a particular community or not,
Mhm.
but its emphasis is in trying to make the joke. And if you get the joke, you're in,
Yeah.
and you're considered
All
fun.
right.
Yeah.
Alright.
And I think that is a brilliant aspect of digital culture, because in digital culture, you feel more accepted if you understand all the memes that's going through your feed,
Mhm.
you know? And so you start tailoring and picking to what you prefer. Whereas in real life, right, you can't exactly tailor to what your coworkers are interested in.
Yeah.
You kind of have to research it for yourself.
Yeah, as someone that is not interested in football in the least, and whose office currently has a betting pool about the playoffs or whatever, just football in general. They're all betting on it. It's dumb. I just don't care. So I can't talk to any of them about it because, like, I don't. Congratulations, you scored the goal in football. Yay, you did it. Like, I can't.
Scored the goal.
Aside from that, like, I don't have anything for you.
I think it's known as a touchdown.
I mean, it really depends on what you think football is.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
Which
Football.
is another level
Of cultural reference.
Yeah, because I would much prefer to watch soccer than American football.
Yeah. But I think that the fact that we get our information and humor from the internet, it makes it both flexible and at the same time kind of ironic in a way. Because memes are a take on internet culture from the perspective of the creator, but it's also a kind of gotcha twisted. It's like a double check of whether or not you've seen the same internet culture they have.
Oh, okay, I see where
you know, like, for example, if SpongeBob, you can only really get it at a deeper level if you've watched SpongeBob. The creator assumes that you've watched SpongeBob, so they're checking.
Yeah.
Even though SpongeBob is part of an internet culture overall. Another example, I think, old internet culture, Neopets. If you just utter the word Neopets, then not only do you now have access to making memes on it, but it serves as a double check of its own internet culture.
Yeah,
because
there are people that did not play Neopets. I am one. I don't know anything about Neopets. I know kind of a broad idea of what it is, but nothing specific. So if they, like, reference a specific Neopet, that's going to go right over my head. I'm not going to know.
Yeah. But, yeah, you can see how, like, internet culture is so big that you can understand, you know, the base general area it's from, but then memes are a double check of, like, okay, but do you really know?
Yeah. Oh, it's like gatekeeping.
Yeah, it's like a weird gatekeeping humor mechanism.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right.
Another great example, RuneScape.
Same. Did not,
I actually was a really big scrub on RuneScape.
Were you?
I got to, like, level 12, and I was like, that's too much grinding. And I gave up. I didn't have good enough internet for it either.
I mean, from what I know of the game, like, that's it. It's the whole game. You just grind until you die.
Pretty much.
Or until you get sick of it. I mean,
oh, cool question. What was your first internet handle? Assuming it doesn't use your real name or anything.
What was it? It was, I'm not gonna say it because it's very close to my actual name. But it was a slight deviation of my actual name that my one of my elementary school teachers called me, and then the year of my birth. Like, it was that.
Did you have, like, underscores, alternating letters?
Oh no, I didn't do all that. That's so extra. The only reason I had my birth date afterwards because, like, the name itself was just taken. Were you one of those kids?
I was one of those kids.
Right.
My original internet handle, I had my sister help me make it because I didn't know how to type it. It was what was it? Harry Potter Rocks with a bunch of underscores everywhere, and instead of CK at the end, it was Rocks with an X.
Ooh,
and I had, like, a couple of numbers, like 5s all over the place, alternating, capitalizing.
That's so much stuff.
It was, but I was very proud of it because it felt like a password.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah, that was my original. What was the first meme to your memory? What was the first meme that you have ever been exposed to?
Ooh, first, like, internet meme?
Yeah.
Shoot. If I really go back,
or you know what?
Courage Wolf stands very strongly in my mind, but I know that wasn't the first one.
What was it?
Courage Wolf. Remember?
Oh, Courage Wolf.
Yeah.
I guess to lower the bar of entry, meme that you remember, like, distinctly remember, earliest distinct memory. So Courage Wolf.
Definitely Courage Wolf.
Definitely Courage Wolf.
Yeah. Everything else is kind of just, like, nebulous. It was, like, there, but, like, I'm not really interested in it. You know?
Yeah, that was around the I Can Has Cheeseburger time where they just first posted a bunch of animal memes. They used to categorize it by animal.
Yeah.
Which I think, again, early memes, early references. That's the easiest way to get humor across.
How long ago was that? That was
That is 2006, 2007.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
There were memes before that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Earliest meme was this GIF of a dancing baby. I googled it some time back. People used to chain email it. Actually,
that's the weirdest thing. Also, email.
Chain email memes.
Emailing? Oh, chain emails. Does that count?
That counts. That's internet culture.
Man,
You remember chain emails of like starving children in Africa?
Oh yeah.
I remember my dad brought me and my sister over to watch these. I mean, it was by all memes. I don't think it was a meme, but I think the conveyance of that idea through chain emails is a mark of digital culture.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating.
I mean, there were also those ones of like, if you don't send this to 10 of your friends, you're gonna have bad relationships for the next 7 years, and your mom's gonna die. Like, all right.
Which became a comedic meme.
Yeah.
Actually,
Now it is.
Which is interesting how the internet evolves off of that kind of clickbaity intention.
Yeah. Well, now we're all old enough to know that it didn't ruin our relationships. That was our own fault.
Did it? Did it really? If I could go back in time and resend those emails.
But also, like, I mean, my mom's still alive. I never resent those. Why would I do that?
Yeah. For me, the first meme I remember being exposed to is Rickroll. That's the first one that I distinctly remember.
Rickrolling is really old, isn't it?
It is. Rickrolling, I think, goes as far back as 2006, off the top of my head. I was looking up I was looking up like Naruto episode sources, and I clicked on a wrong link, and it took me to Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Oh my god!
And I was so confused. I didn't actually get the joke until I went back to the previous page, and the forum says, "How dare you Rickroll me?" And I'm like, "Is this a joke?" So I continued searching for more episodes. I'm like, "This is a joke." I understand now.
I actually heard about getting Rickrolled way before I had ever gotten Rickrolled. I avoided it very well for many years, but as a result, I didn't know the song. So eventually, somebody was like, "Oh, like listen to this song by this artist. Just click this link," and I was like, "All right, yeah, sure." And I clicked the link, and obviously, I got Rickrolled. But like at the time, I was just like, "This isn't the right link. This isn't the artist at all." I thought I was gonna watch a Nelly music video.
Yeah,
this isn't accurate.
And what I like about it is as it ages, the mark of a good meme, I feel, is if you can still make the reference in a classy way. And still surprise people. Maybe not be obnoxious with, like, a badly aged cultural meme, I guess, would be, sorry in advance, losing the game. Nobody likes losing the game. Nobody likes losing the game.
Don't look up the game if you're not playing the game.
No, they're gonna look it up.
They're gonna look it up. I mean, I gotta tell them not to. If they decide to bring that hell upon themselves, like, that's really none of my business. But I told you, do not look up the game. Oh,
I wanted to actually bring it back to, momentarily, to the Kuehl, because that's what this episode is about. So I wanted to bring it back to the Kuehl Engine. I feel like as much flack as we give the Fuel Engine, the idea it had is kind of ingenious, like a condensed Wikipedia article cross-referencing as many sources from the internet as possible. I feel like that's way too complex of an algorithm, but I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
So, I'm trying to think of a way to word this carefully, I guess. So I think of it the same way I think of how people think. So some people have very linear thinking. They're like, point A to point B, that's it, right? Some people can, like, make short leaps and get to different conclusions, so they can go from, like, A to E really easily. But this Kuehl engine, if it worked the way it was intended, it would go from A to Z immediately and then give you all that information, and you could read through it, and yeah, it would jump, but you would have a solid grasp of something by the end of it. You know, using the pumpkin example, like, by the end of that, you'd probably understand, like, still how to grow pumpkins, how to maintain pumpkins, all the things that pumpkins were used for, mythologically and culturally, and culinarily. Is that a word?
It's
probably
a word.
And then also just a slew of other information that you probably would think that you don't need, but maybe you do, and maybe it'll pop up at a later date. So as somebody that thinks of things in a more abstract way, it makes sense. The idea behind it makes sense, but the execution couldn't work without AI, I think. Without a really solid AI. Like, they could probably do it now and be fine.
Yeah. And my whole thing with the idea of it is it has to deem sources as viable in order to cross-reference multiple
definitely
things.
Have to make sure that it is pulling from credible sources and not just throwing contradictory information at you and, like, half of it's true, half of it's not. Yeah. Like, good luck finding out, you know.
What I have noticed, especially with younger kids using the internet, even our generation to an extent, is we tend to treat the internet as a living thing. For example, we say Google it, as if Google is a person. Like, oh, just ask Google, you know? Or like, oh, just ask Wikipedia. We could look it up. And you're right that it's a library, but sometimes to me it feels like a living library, that we give it a personality, which always makes me think, if giving it personality imbues it with an actual personality.
I would say no, because humans do this thing where they like to personify. Well, personify, I guess would be the word. They want to make everything a person,
right?
And anthropomorphize. Actually.
Yeah, anthropomorphize.
That'd be better. So they will
one Kuehl.
One Kuehl. So they'll project their own ideas or viewpoints on something that, like, honestly doesn't have anything. Like, blue is a boy's color. Why? Because a bunch of people all decided that, like, yeah, blue's a boy's color. But blue itself is just light hitting something and making the thing. Like, that's it. That's all it is. You know?
True.
You can't gender light. That's weird. You know? But I think in terms of, like, Google it. Like, Google itself has a personality, but Google's not the internet. Google's like a specific, like, subset of it. Like, if you like, it turns into like a cultural effect almost, because like, who's using all of these things? Like, 4chan has a different culture from Reddit, has a different culture from Facebook, and even the big three social medias right now, which I would say are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like, those, I would say those are the big three. Mainstream ones, at least. Those all have completely different
textual expressions.
Yeah, but, like, I have all three of those. Like, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, and I have Twitter, and I use them all for separate things, and there's very little overlap.
Yeah, and to give a link in, I've put some thought into that, actually. A future episode is actually going to tackle linguistics on the internet, both over time and in different spaces. I'm going to invite a good friend of mine to come along. They specialize in linguistics, so hopefully we get some great banter from there. But I agree with you. Different spaces have different types of expression of speaking. Like, 4chan has green text storytelling.
Yeah, you're not going to find green text anywhere else.
No, and if you don't know it, don't look it up. It's degenerate.
I mean, really, just don't.
Don't go to 4chan in general.
Like, there's no need to at this point.
I find the history of 4chan fascinating.
It's really, it's really interesting.
It originally spun off of 2chan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now there's a bunch of them, though.
There's a bunch of chans.
They all have different uses.
Yeah. For our listeners, 2chan was one of the original thread posting. You can think of it as one of the original forums of the internet that was created, I believe, as most internet models were, by a university in Tokyo. Most internet rudimentary from the very beginning were created by university for communications.
Yeah, I think 2chan is Japanese.
Yeah, 2chan is originally Japanese. And then America saw the idea and copied it and called it 4chan because, I don't know, twice as big? Don't know.
Yeah.
Beats me.
So, how do you feel about people seeking out certain types of memes and staying within a certain type of meme group? In my opinion, it is very polarizing. People learn from memes, even if it's only little clickbaity snippets, and so as a result, they are getting all their information from this group, from these memes, and it might not be entirely accurate. I just want to know your opinions on that, your viewpoints.
I think it's... The thing is, memes as a tool, just like with art or movies, serves to service itself. The person who made that flavor of humor is looking for other people to confirm that, yes, this is indeed a good joke. This is indeed a good meme.
Oh, it's
right?
all like validation and
yeah,
that
it's
dopamine.
validation. And so you're right that it's dangerous, but it's inherently dangerous in that manner. I think the real danger is what you mentioned, people learning from the meme. They'll take memes as a valid source of information when it's not. Memes are literally a joke. You know. Oh, that's just bad timing.
It happens.
Memes are literally a joke. They aren't supposed to inform you. They're just supposed to be something that you find funny, not a form of validating your viewpoint, I guess. Although in some cases, people judge a meme as good because it validates their viewpoint.
Yeah.
And I think that is an aspect of subcultures and internet culture that isn't dangerous, but it's just natural, you know.
Okay.
It's like here's a good example. A good example is how here in California, if you say hella, you are identified as someone from NorCal.
Generally, yeah.
And if you say Oakland, people generally don't want to visit Oakland.
Yeah.
But also they
Oakland
should.
is a beautiful city.
Yeah, but also they should because there's undertones of racial profiling.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we as Californians can make jokes about it. And because we know.
Yeah.
And whether or not we view that as messed up is up to our own moral designation. I think the problem comes from when you use referencing as a fact.
Okay.
For example, if I were to go to someone and say, hey, only people from NorCal says hella, and if you say hella, you're wrong, because I know. That's what everyone thinks.
All right.
Right? That is off-putting, but that type of logic is the same as if you were to look at a funny meme and say, oh yeah, of course those people are dumb. It's because the frogs said they're dumb. Ha,
yeah.
You dumb liberals, right? Or you dumb Republicans, right? And then you automatically think, well, because they're making fun of it, clearly they're bad. You know, and that operates on a similar logic, I guess, where I guess the error in logic is giving it a sense of authority. You know, that because you think a meme is funny, it therefore has the authority to tell you an idea that the joke is based on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think appeals to people in a very innate nature. Humor is a great conversation starter. It's a great way to get people to open up and to agree with you. That's why comedians are so good at conveying their ideas to people, because comedy makes them comfortable. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's just the responsibility of the viewer to understand what they're listening to. You know, like,
and also to critically think about things as opposed to just blindly accepting whatever they're
exactly. Like, pardon this upcoming bit, but you know, if a comedian were to say like, yeah, gas the Jews, right? That is a very sensitive thing to say, right? And you should not laugh at it.
Yeah.
Now, if the delivery of it made you laugh, I don't think you're necessarily a bad person. I think you're a bad person if you agreed with it and laughed at it.
Oh, okay. Actually,
you know,
along that same kind of line of thinking, this is a actual example because I watched a Dave Chappelle special really recently. I watched all of them really recently. And he's talking about how he's so good at this. He's so good at stand-up. And he is. He tells the punchline. He's like, here's the punchline that I pulled out of a hat, and this is the one that I'm going to make a joke on. Here you go. And then I kicked her in the pussy. That's the punchline.
Ooh.
So you know what it is. You know whatever he's about to talk about, it's gonna circle back around there, right? So he tells the story about how he goes over, he's a kid, he's going over to his friend's house, and they're making some kind of like stovetop thing, and he's trying to buy time for himself so he doesn't have to set the table by washing his hands for a really long time. And one of his friend's mom kind of like calls him out on it. And by the way, this joke has been going on for about 8 minutes maybe. And then he drops the line. He's just like, and then I kicked her in the pussy and left. And everybody loses it. They lose their minds. They're laughing. They're having a good time. That punchline on its own, terrible. You shouldn't laugh at that.
Right.
But the delivery of it, it worked so well, combined with the fact that he told you already that he was about to do it, and then he made you laugh anyway.
Yeah, and I think that is the real appeal of memes. Both it's double-edged nature. It lets you process a joke that you otherwise wouldn't be really good at telling. Yeah. In a presentable, recognizable format for people. But at the same time, it presents a danger because then you as the viewer have a responsibility to be like, that's a bad joke. Yeah. That's not tasteful. One really common example for people is dead baby jokes. Who actually wants a dead baby? Nobody wants a dead baby. But everybody laughs at the dead baby joke because of its abstraction, because of how many cues it takes to make you laugh. Yeah. And
it does take a few.
Yeah. And it does take a few, and it does take an artful delivery. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really solid thing to bring up. Just meme delivery, we'll call it. Yeah. Yeah. So an interesting thing that I've noticed is people like to use memes as a replacement of humor, and therefore a replacement for human interaction.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, 100%, 100%. And I know people that are guilty of that, and it's not like they're bad people or anything. It's just that it's easier to get that connection from a meme that you just like post on Facebook really quick, or like repost, since everything's repost now, than it is to actually go out and, you know, organize a meeting with your friends and all like go bowling or whatever, because people are busy, especially
adult life,
where it's like, you know, I work from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and then after I get home, then I need to like eat, and then I need to go to the gym, or I need to do this, or I need to do that, and go on errands. So it's much quicker to just be like, yes, so-and-so posted a funny meme, I'm gonna hit that like button, than it is to be like, let's go get lunch at this diner at this time, like, because that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. And I feel like that is the true distinction between a meme and a joke. A joke is something that you evolve with your friends. You develop it, something funny happens, you guys all agree, this was funny. Like, here's an inside joke that probably only Danger and I and a select few friends will get, but the twins. Yeah.
I mean, they're not a joke.
No, I mean, it's more of the technique of the reference, right? Like, when we say the twins, we know who we're talking about.
We know exactly who we're talking about.
And we have a list of shenanigans that we can therefore reference. Whereas a meme is generalized, but also tailored to your liking if you hit the like button. Yeah. But it doesn't replace one-on-one discussion. It doesn't replace actual socializing. And it doesn't replace actual banter, which is why I really value this podcast, because it's more of a expression of how important it is to have a one-on-one discussion with people. What strikes me as the most fascinating is going back to the origin of memes. A lot of meme-ish culture sprouted from chain emails, clickbaity kinds of things, right? Yeah. People will naturally fall into clickbait so long as it interests them, you know? People are just attracted to something saying you won't believe this. Yeah. But if the next section is something you're genuinely interested in, chances are you'll click on it. And what I am starting to see is the internet is evolving into kind of a meta, constantly changing newspaper where memes are the comic strips of the newspaper. And just like any newspaper, nobody reads the whole newspaper.
No, they just read the parts that they want for whatever they're trying to do.
And the thing that most people read the newspapers for are the comic section, you know, which comics are, again, motivated from either a creator commissioned by the newspaper or someone from the newspaper making political satire, which is in the flavor of that newspaper.
Yeah. And that's, like, comics are super referential about pop culture and politics and social issues, basically everything.
They always have been.
Yeah.
And so I think wrapping up this discussion on Kuehls, because we are going over 48 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I
mean, we'll probably cut some of this out.
Yeah, I was doing a pause so that I could note to myself to cut some of it out later. Anyways, wrapping up this entire discussion on Kuehls, I think the main takeaway that we have here is memes are just humor encoded in a digital medium, and we use Kuehls, we as people intuitively use Kuehls to kind of layer depths of humor into it. And if you can get past all of the Kuehls that are unlocked inside of a piece of a meme, then you instantly understand a joke. But I think the dangerous part about it is it causes you to both prefer certain kinds of memes as well as seek them within preferred flavors of internet. Or in this case, to use the newspaper analogy, it makes you hover towards specific meme jokes within a specific culture that you already agree with.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, I think memes are... I'm making a podcast about memes. I freaking love them.
Yeah, they're great.
But, you know, the closer you examine them, the more you realize it's humor within a group can still be dangerous and limiting to other groups. And
anything that others is, you know, dangerous.
Yeah. It's danger.
It's dangerous.
And, it's something worth examining. So we're going to be examining that a lot on this podcast. We are, to make some announcements. So, this was a general overview on our thoughts on internet culture. Thank you for coming on, Danger.
It was a pleasure.
Future podcasts, we will be talking about different subcultures of these memes, because now that we have established different cultures, different newspapers have different types of meme ideologies and things to base their humor off of, things to abstract from, we're going to be taking a look at different subcultures or different usages of memes. We've got marketing. We've got linguistics. We've got different subcultures like colleges, churches, you know, other sorts of venues where you have very specific sets of memes. Memes for teachers, memes for bankers, memes for very depressed people, which is another topic.
Of them.
Oh yeah, we've got a topic coming up eventually about just the weird culture of like depressed irony jokes on the internet that people don't take too seriously, but it personalizes the internet in a way.
That, you know what, you could probably throw that into the art discussion one.
Oh.
Because that is definitely a thing that happened in art in the, I think the 20s and 30s.
Yeah. With war.
With the Great Depression, with the war and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, stay tuned because I am hyped.
Thank you for coming on. I know this was the first podcast, so...
I mean, it all worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it all worked pretty well. I mean, I'm going to listen and edit it loosely. I mean, it's the first podcast.
We got a lot of stuff that we could probably cut.
Yeah. Anyways, that concludes our podcast. This has been The Fifth Horseman with Memepocalypse. I'm Horse.
I'm Danger.
See you guys next time.